It is time now for the big story. Hard to believe the NFL draft opening night just 2 weeks away. And for more on what to expect, we bring in NFL draft analyst Eric Edholm of Yahoo Sports. Eric, I looked at your latest mock, and it won't take long to hear a Big Ten player's name. You have Aiden Hutchinson projected as number 1 to Jacksonville. What do we like about Hutchinson, and why does he fit with the Jaguars?
Yeah, I would say character, talent, work ethic, production. I mean, Hutchinson just checks off so many boxes and has such a high floor. I think in a draft that lacks some blue chip talent, some higher end prospects like we saw the last couple of years, Hutchinson is probably about as safe a bet to land in the top 3 picks overall. You could argue edge isn't a huge need for the Jaguars, but I think they need winners. They need high effort players. They need players who can impact the passing game. Doug Peterson, new head coach, I'm guessing he'll see a lot of Chris Long, his former player with the Eagles, in Hutchinson. So it makes a lot of sense that he could end up there.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that you bring up character as one of the first things that you say about Hutchinson, because based on everything that Jacksonville has gone through, I'm assuming that's something that Peterson and that front office staff really going to be worried about when they worry about that first pick.
Absolutely. You're looking for foundational builders and building blocks. I think you're looking for guys who can set the tone even as a rookie, right? I mean, they've made a lot of changes in free agency. Some of the stuff was coach driven. Some of it was player driven. Right now they need kind of a cleanse of the roster. And what better way to do that with a program changer at Michigan like Hutchinson.
Hutchinson had such an outstanding 2021, but he wasn't the only guy in maize and blue repeatedly taking down the quarterback, because David Ojabo, a guy who wasn't really well known before last season, suddenly became a national name. He was projected as a first rounder, and then he tears his Achilles during pro day. Ultimately, how does that affect his stock when the draft rolls around?
Yeah, it's certainly going to hurt him. It's going to knock him down. We had been projecting him in the first 15 or 20 picks, maybe a little bit raw, but still a player with exciting upside. But after the injury, the questions arise now. Is he a first-round pick? Some scouts still believe that he's got enough talent, enough upside that he could land in one of the final picks around 1. Early part of round 2 makes sense. We've seen, Willis McGahee, Todd Gurley, Jalen Smith from Notre Dame, guys who had some major injury questions go in the first 30, 35 picks. And I think that's really what we're looking at here. Round 2 would be his floor, and I'd be shocked if Ojabo fell out of the top 50 picks. I think he's that good and has that much promise that a team is willing to wait, especially after Cam Akers from the LA Rams, came back on a much shorter timetable for an Achilles than we've previously seen. There's a rethinking of what the rehab schedule might be for that type of injury.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you bring up which teams are willing to wait, because there are certainly teams out there that are more rostered up and have more depth at that position that could afford to wait than other teams, and so that will obviously affect where he goes. Your mock draft sees 3 now former Big Ten receivers going fairly close to each other in the first round, the Ohio State duo of Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, along with Jahan Dotson. What separates those 3 guys, and if you had to pick, does one have more upside than any of the other?
Yeah, the order you listed them in is the order that I have them ranked, at least among the Big Ten guys. I've got Wilson first, followed closely by Olave, and Dotson just a little bit after that. Wilson isn't a big guy, but he plays bigger than his size. And I think what makes him special is his body control, his quick twitch athleticism, his ability to attack all 3 levels of the field. Olave is more of your kind of silky smooth route ninja, if you will. He can accelerate and decelerate so easily. I mean, trying to cover him in man coverage is a tough chore. I just think he's the kind of guy who can add a lot of octane to your offense, even if he's not special after the catch or much of a tackle breaker. And then you get to Dotson, and boy, he just really grew on me. And you could see the incremental growth every single season at Penn State, culminating in a final year where he caught more than 90 balls, had 1,200 plus yards, quality punt returner, lined up inside and outside, just so reliable, almost a more reliable version of KJ Hamler, who they had a couple years back, but cut from a similar cloth, I think. So they're all 3, I think, have a chance to step in immediately and add something to an NFL offense.
Yeah, Dotson's a super confident guy, too, kind of bordering on confident to cocky. You ask him, he says, I'm the best receiver in this draft, and that's a big surprise. We never see wide receivers who are cocky or confident about their abilities. Another guy that you didn't even mention, David Bell, is probably a second-day guy, but had more catches, more yardage than all those players, and his teammate, George Karlaftis, is in your first round. It's interesting because we haven't seen a lot of Purdue defensive players that high in recent drafts. What do you like about Karlaftis, who you have projected number 22 to Green Bay?
Yeah, I like that he's an explosive athlete who, really, frankly, looked like an NFL player from his first game as a true freshman and, only got better by the end of last season, took a few dips here and there, but I think really progressed over his 3 years. And, this despite the fact that he's only played football for about 8 years, arrived from Greece, learned the sport late, unusually gifted athlete who I think figured out his role on the field, which is high energy, play with power, relentless motor, always working extra effort to earn his sacks and, still some raw technique in some respects. And, maybe he's noticeably better in year 2 than he is as a rookie on an NFL roster, but he's a guy with traits that I think you want to mold. And I think he'll end up somewhere in the back half of round 1. Some people think he can slip to round 2. I'm of the belief that he'll go in the first 32 big picks.
Only 3 interior offensive linemen appear in your first-round mock, but one of them is Iowa center Tyler Linderbaum, considered by most to be the best center in this year's draft. What makes Linderbaum so attractive at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows about the wrestling background, of course, battling Tristan Wirfs in high school and those guys being teammates and at one of the best offensive line factories in the country, if you will. But he's also, it's easy to forget. I mean, this was a former defensive lineman who only switched before, earning that starting job, relatively new to the position, but you never know it watching him. He's got, great technique. He plays with confidence and aggression. The size is going to be a hang up for some, especially when we've seen some undersized centers struggle a little bit in terms of pass protection. Arm length isn't quite there. Massive nose tackles can give him problems, but he's a superior athlete, just happens to be a technician with a mean streak in him. That's a pretty good combination. You can work with all the smarts to make the calls up front. I've got him a little bit lower than some people do, but I think he's a starting center from day one, and I suspect he'll work into the latter half of round 1.
Obviously, round 1 and Thursday night is where the marquee names go, but so many teams are built on guys taken beyond that, day 2, sure, sometimes even day 3. Which Big Ten player not in your first-round mock draft do you think could be a sleeper, one of those guys who eventually outplays their draft slot?
Yeah, a few came to mind. Obviously, Ojabo, if he slips, we talked about him a little bit, but Jaquan Brisker from Penn State really impressed me. I mean, he had that great game in the opener against Wisconsin. Time and time again was in the right place at the right time. Another guy who plays with confidence, and I think his instincts will serve him very well at safety. Kenneth Walker, of course, the one-year wonder at Michigan State. I'm sure Spartans fans wish he could have stuck around longer or gotten there earlier, but excellent first and second down back. I think he could be a bell cow in the NFL. And then Boye Mafe. I mean, he's got work to do on his run game, but the energy and passion and burst he brings to pass rusher. Every single day at the Senior Bowl, he looked better. And every single season at Minnesota, he seemed to grow. So he's one that's definitely risen. Could sneak into round 1, but I suspect will be an early second.
Yeah, I got to see him a couple of times in person doing sidelines for Minnesota games, and he, at times, can absolutely take over games and does have so much energy. Eric, before we let you go, I want to rub your crystal ball here and look not just at 2022, but even 2023. Which player returning to the Big Ten this coming season do you think will have the best chance to be the first Big Ten player off the board, assuming they go to the draft and are eligible in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, boy, I love this, right? We haven't even had the 22 draft. We're already talking about next year. This is right in my wheelhouse. I think you got to start at Ohio State. I mean, C.J. Stroud and, Jackson Smith and Jigba, maybe the most exciting passing combo in college football. We don't know how long they're going to stay in college, but both profile as elite prospects. And, one that's maybe a little bit below the radar is Peter Skoronski at Northwestern. We saw Rashawn Slater go high in round 1 a couple years ago. He was a terrific first-year performer. Certainly has a chance to be the next first rounder if he can add a little bit of bulk, but he's got the footwork and the smarts for the position. Lots of good returning talent in the Big Ten. Sam Laporta at Iowa and Rakeem Jarrett, and lots of talent in Columbus and Ann Arbor and places like that.
Yeah, it was so much fun to watch Stroud, Smith, and Jigba in person at the Rose Bowl. And you could just tell Ryan Day was so happy knowing these guys had to come back to school for another year, because so many NFL teams would love to have them on their roster right now. All right, now you are ready for the draft. Thanks to Eric Edholm, draft analyst and insider for Yahoo Sports. Eric, as always, we appreciate the time.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
It has already been a busy spring in Big Ten football. We've seen spring games for Purdue, Nebraska, Michigan. This weekend it belongs to the Buckeyes and Spartans. Ohio State gets things started noon Eastern, 11 Central Time, and then Michigan State takes over the spring spotlight at 2 o'clock Eastern. And for more on what we should expect to see in East Lansing on Saturday, it's time for the big interview. Welcome in Michigan State head man Mel Tucker. Mel, first and foremost, I know this is a very busy time of the year. Then again, every time of the year is busy right now if you're a head football coach. So we appreciate a few moments of your time.
No, thanks for having me.
I know this weekend more of an open practice than an actual spring game. So what will the format look like on Saturday?
Yeah, we'll have some individual periods to start, and then we'll do some group work, and then we'll get into some teamwork, and we'll get some live action in, live to the ground tackling in that team period, in those team periods, and then we'll also get some special teams mixed in.
Mel, every coach has a different philosophy, what they want to see from their team, and maybe more importantly, what they don't want to show future opponents in the fall. What's your philosophy on what you actually want to get out of Saturday's open practice?
Yeah, we just want to get better. It's practice 15 for us. We've emphasized technique and fundamentals all spring, and we want our guys to play smart and fast and physical, and just working with a sense of urgency, attention to detail. We want to have like good, clean work, hyper competitive, continue to work on our schemes, both sides of the ball, special teams.
Mel, I know this Saturday is not just important for the players on campus. It's important for the program. It's important to bring in fans. It's important for recruits. How do you look at this in terms of trying to continue the momentum that you guys built throughout the season in 2021?
No, it's very important. We get an opportunity to get into the woodshed again with our fans. It's a big day for us in terms of recruiting. We have a lot of momentum in our program. Folks are excited about football here in East Lansing. And so it's just another chance for us to get out there and show everyone what we're all about.
I know the first couple of goes for you were unlike any for any coach in college football history with everything that this world went through over the first couple of years. So how has spring ball this year felt different, not just considering those factors, but also considering the fact that you guys at 11-2 last year, I think accomplished something that no one outside your locker room thought possible at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, well, it's been a much more normal out of season for us with our winter conditioning program, and then going into spring ball. We know our players a lot better. They know us. They know the scheme. They know the culture. They know what's expected. We have standards, and the players know that the standard is a standard. It's not going to change. So everyone's looking to get better, raise the level of competition, and just continue to build on the foundation that we laid.
Part of that outstanding foundation a year ago was the performance of Kenneth Walker, who's projected as one of the top 2 running backs in this year's NFL draft. Listen, I know it's a question you've been asked a million times, and there's no easy answer, but who is in line? How do you try to fill those shoes?
Well, those are huge shoes to fill. I just saw him this morning, and every time I see him, I say, man, what a great player. He just did a great job for us. But, obviously we've got Elijah Collins back. Harold Joyner is back. Jordan Simmons is back. Davion Prim, one of our young guys, has really showed a lot of promise this spring. And then we've got Jalen Berger that's come in from a transfer from Wisconsin, who's looked really good so far this spring.
Interesting that you said you ran into Kenneth this morning. How's he feeling about the draft? It's just 2 weeks away.
He seemed to be in pretty good spirits. I talked to him about staying in shape. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And he's one of those guys that he's never out of shape. He's always working hard to get better. Just a humble and hardworking guy. And I've got a lot of calls from him, from NFL teams, GMs, head coaches. It's going to be very interesting. His future is very bright.
I'm not surprised he's in shape. Hey, when the head coach looks like you look right now, wearing the T-shirt of the office, the guys know they better stay in shape. Otherwise, they're not getting on the field. Listen, Kenneth had a great year, but Peyton Thorne had a great year, and that was coming off a fall camp where no one was really sure if Peyton was even going to be the starter. So how has he evolved, and what does he have to do, Mel, to maybe take even another step this season?
Well, he's really matured as a player. He's emerged as our team leader, not just on offense, but our entire team. He really has command of the offense. He's got a lot of confidence, and he's a guy that can direct traffic. He can lead. He can hold others accountable. I just think that his arrow is up, and he's getting better each and every day. I love him as a competitor. He's that guy. He's what you're looking for at the quarterback position.
How much specifically have you seen his confidence grow and change? Because as you well know, at that quarterback position, you have to be confident enough that you can perform, but that everybody around you believes that you can make them better as well.
Yeah, his confidence, it grows every day because of his preparation. He really works hard at his craft. He's very serious about it. Very detail oriented. He works with a sense of urgency, and you can just see his confidence build. Every time out, he's always getting better.
Always helps to have a guy like Jayden Reed coming back. What does it mean for Peyton, for the pass game, for this offense overall, that Jayden decided to bypass the draft and return to East Lansing?
Yeah, that's huge for us. Jay Reed he's an excellent player. He's another leader on our offense. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands. He's an outstanding return man. He's great with the 50-50 balls. And he's a veteran guy that knows what it means to make plays in this league and play at a very, very high level. So with he and Peyton leading our offense, they give us a chance.
Mel, I know you'd prefer to play a game. You were even quoted as saying that, but the numbers right now and the fact that you have to avoid injury at some position doesn't allow you to do that. And one of those positions, obviously, offensive lineman, you lost 5 to graduation. Kevin Jarvis goes to the NFL, 2 guys to the portal. So how do you address those depth concerns before you get into fall practice?
Yeah, we'll be fine. We just have to get some guys back from maybe some medical issues, injuries, surgeries, things like that. But we have some guys that have played a lot of football that are coming back. We have some really big young guys that are getting a lot of work this spring. And we may add a player or two here after spring ball leading the fall camp. So we'll have depth, and Coach Cap will have those guys coached up.
All right, so we've been talking all offense, a defensive-minded guy. It's going, when are we going to talk about the defense? So I know that some of your biggest recruiting wins, both through the high school route and via the transfer portal, have come on the defensive side of the ball. How different do you think this defense is shaping up to look in 2022?
Well, I'll tell you what, we have more guys who know what to do and how to do it. And we have competition at all 3 levels of our defense. We have some young guys that have come in mid-year that are pushing guys. Our older guys are really stepping up and leading. Look at guys like X Henderson, who decided to come back. He's working extremely hard at his game, but holding his teammates accountable. I just really feel good about the direction we're going on defense. The guys are playing fast. We have some new coaches on defense. The players are really taking to those guys. Really good energy. I look to have a very cohesive unit on defense.
Yeah, it seems like Xavier's been there forever, making plays for a really long time, but he's not the only veteran that is going to be part of that group, leading some of the new guys. Who else do you look to for veteran leadership on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, well, we got like Jacob Slade up front as a guy who's been around. He and Maverick Hansen inside have played a lot of football for us. Kyle Halliday is a guy who's he's a younger guy, but he's played a lot of football at the linebacker position. And we've got Aaron Brule and Winmond that have transferred in, and those guys are veteran guys who have played a lot of football. They can play at a really high level. We got Amir Speed that came in, transferred from Georgia, just played a lot of ball. Jello, the Sugar Weasel, Gross has played a lot of football for us. And so at all 3 levels of our defense, we have players that have played a lot of ball and know what our culture is all about and know what it's all about and know what we have to do to play winning football. And so, I'm just really excited about our development at all 3 levels of our defense. We're going to have a great summer, and we're going to get better in fall camp. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, Mel, I have to follow up because you said it with a straight face, but Sugar Weasel, is that related to a honey badger? Where exactly does that come from?
Well, I'm not sure where it comes from, but that's Jello's nickname. It was pretty organic in his creation there. So I think he likes it. We like it. So that's what he is. And I tell you what, he's having a heck of a spring. He's really stepping up. He's becoming more of a vocal leader, and he's playing fast. I'm looking forward to seeing him play this fall. I
got to be honest with you. I think as that becomes more popular, it's going to become one of the most famous nicknames in college football in 2022. Mel, with great success comes great expectation. So How do you and this staff prepare this team, if you do so any differently, for the expectations that may be the same inside your locker room, but are probably somewhat different from the outside heading into this year than they were compared to last season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I invite the high expectations. That means people care, and they see that we're doing some good things over here, and they expect us to do even better. And but the expectations outside our program are not higher than the expectations inside the program. So, we know how to work. We have a process. We know how to get better. We're relentless in our mindset, how we go about our business, and we're just going to work every day to get just a little bit better. Not going to focus on the outcome. We're going to focus on our preparation day to day and our process. We'll see where that takes us.
Mel Tucker, Michigan State head coach. Mel, we truly appreciate you taking a few moments out of your day. Enjoy this weekend with the team. Hope you guys are able to fill the stadium and everybody stays healthy after the open spring practice.
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Go Green.
Let's share some hockey news from Minneapolis. Now, former Gopher Ben Meyers agreeing to an NHL deal with the Colorado Avalanche. Remember, Meyers was actually an undrafted free agent, despite the fact that he was one of the finalists for this year's Hobey Baker Award given to the nation's top college player. Let's talk some more hockey, because it's always a good time to do that. And to help us in that regard, New York Times bestselling author John U. Bacon and Michigan legend Red Berenson now works as a special consultant to the Big Ten Conference office. John's latest book, a great read. I've gone through it twice. We'll get to the book in just a second. Red, I want to start with you, though. As the hockey season came to a close with the Frozen Four, both Michigan and Minnesota, part of that Frozen Four, what's the feeling at the conference office about where the league is right now and where it's headed?
Well, we like where the league is in the past couple of years. I think if you look at the Big Ten network and how they've done the games, in other words, they've cut out some of the commercials. We only have one commercial a period. We have shorter intermissions, 12-minute intermissions. We have hurry-up face-offs. So the officials, the coaches, the players, and the TV viewers and the fans at the rink all love it because the game keeps going. And I think that's one of the strengths of the Big Ten. Now, on the other hand, we're getting better players. If you watch the draft this year, you saw four of the top 5 picks in the draft came to our conference, and fortunately for Michigan, they came to Michigan. But as we watch some of the players leave the league in the short time I've been here, like I'm a big fan of Cole Caulfield, who's playing for Montreal, and he left Wisconsin. But we're getting good players, and we're seeing them develop in our conference, and we're getting respect around the country. It's too bad we didn't go further in the Frozen Four. I thought both our teams were capable of going all the way. And so I think we're in good hands right now, and we're in good shape. We like the momentum of the conference. Will there be expansion? I think there will be. I don't know if it'll be this year, but the attitude in the office is if we find the right partner, or whether it's an affiliate member or a current Big Ten member, we'll definitely look at them.
All right, speaking of partners, I know you guys work together a little on the book. John, the title is Let Them Lead, Unexpected Lessons in Leadership from America's Worst High School Hockey Team. Now, you were kind enough to send me the advance copy, which was great, but I have to admit, when I looked at the cover, my first thought was, is Bacon exaggerating here? Just how bad was the program when you returned to coach your alma mater?
Rick, I'd love to tell you that I was exaggerating, but it's not the case. My alma mater is Ann Arbor Huron High School, home of the River Rats, and I'm not making that up either. The team was 0-22-3 when I took over in 2000 on some website. They ranked Huron dead last out of 1,256 teams. That's impressive in a way. And worse than that, Rick, they hired the worst player in school history, yours truly. I still hold the record. I'm not bragging here, Rick. These are facts. For most games in a Huron uniform, 86. With the fewest goals, 0. And no one can break that record. So worst player in school history, worst team in America. There's a great shot for you. That should work. But it did work because I stole from Red Berenson and other great mentors. And in 3 years, we were 17-4-5. Number 53 in the nation. We'd passed 97% of the nation's teams in 3 years, and I didn't cut anybody. Those are the same guys who were 0-22-3.
So, Red, what kind of advice did you offer to John when he asked?
Well, I thought I knew what it was like taking over a weak team. And I think a big part of it is the culture of the team and the attitude, the work ethic, the preparation, the training, the teamwork, and of course the locker room and your leadership. And I think John, he talked to a lot of coaches beside me, and he got some ideas that he thought might help his guys be better athletes and better teammates, and in some cases better leaders. But this book, when you've read it, which sounds like you have, and I have, it's really a testimonial to the millennial group of people that we're all dealing with, and it comes out good. It really comes out good, and it's real. And John wasn't doing any coaching. I don't know if he ever had a coaching job before this, but he just found a way to drill these kids and get them. Well, he'll tell you what all the things that were in the book that really paid off. I don't think they liked it, but after a while they loved it, and they took ownership of it, and the leadership from the group emerged. It's a great story, and it's a true story, and this is the guy that was right in the middle of it. So you couldn't get any more original material than what you're going to hear from John, or what you're going to read in this book.
So, John, I know you borrowed from Red, you borrowed from other great leaders. In the interior design business, that's the business my wife is in, they talk about the quote-unquote golden thread that brings all the different rooms in a house together. So was there a golden thread that kind of connected all these different leaders? And what was it that then was able to lead your team from kind of the ceiling to, or from the basement, I should say, to success?
I like the golden thread idea. If I had that a year ago, Rick, it'd be in the book. But anyway, I can say a few things. One, from Red, I got the idea of vision. He knew when he got to Michigan, the team had not been successful for a while, cultural problems and so on. But his quote to me in my first book on Michigan hockey was he knew what a Michigan man should look like. He knew what the program should feel like. And that intangible sense of vision drove me. But if I had to boil it down to one line, it comes from John Cooper, who was coaching Lansing Catholic Central the same year I was coaching at Ann Arbor Huron High School. He has since gone on to win 2 consecutive Stanley Cups for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So our career paths seem to have diverged in some way there, Rick, because I'm not doing that. But he had a great line. He said, on bad teams, nobody leads. On good teams, coaches lead. And on great teams, everybody leads. That's what Berenson got going in the 90s with Michigan and thereafter, and that's what I want to get going. So it's not me versus the players. It's everybody leading each other and feeling ownership and accountable to each other, not to me. When you get that going, it's not me versus the team. It's everybody going in the same direction, and now you're a force to be dealt with.
Red, your career playing, coaching, almost unmatched. I mean, we were looking back at your career stats. We believe you missed Rocket Richard maybe by 1 year. I mean, that's how far back your playing career goes, and obviously great job coaching through all those years with Michigan. And John mentioned how many great leaders. Who are the best leaders? Who are the guys that really stood out to you, whether it was in your playing or coaching career, as guys that could just take over and lead a team to where otherwise they maybe wouldn't be able to be led?
Well, as you know, there's a lot of different kinds of leaders. I mean, before I got there, you mentioned Rocket Richard. And all the players respected him, and players on both teams, the opponents and his teammates. He was so impassioned with the competition and scoring goals and so on. And he wasn't the prettiest player to watch, but boy, was he a factor when the going got tough and they got in the playoffs and so on. His records and goal scoring was just about unmatched. But the player that I played with that I thought was the most exceptional leader was John Beliveau. If Beliveau walked in a room and everyone was talking, they would stop talking and they would look, and that's John Beliveau. He had a presence, and without knowing it, he was a humble guy, but boy, could he ever attract your best effort. And he was so good with the young players as well. And I remember how he treated me and how he kept pumping me up and telling me, that I was this and I could do that, and on and on. He was so supportive and so positive as a leader. And then he would go out and do it. I mean, he would go out and do those things and just lead the pack. So I would say Beliveau was my best leader. In college at Michigan, we've had so many good captains, and so many, I'd hate to mention any one of them. But when we won in '96, Stephen Halko was the captain, but all the leaders that were under him were also leaders of that team. Like he he got the most out of his teammates. And it just kept going. Once the players, as John said, once the players take ownership of the importance of the team and the success of the team, it becomes a real team, and not just a one-player team or a one-coach team. It becomes a team. And, as a coach, you're as good as your players. And really, we take too much credit and too much blame sometimes. But you need the players, and you need the right kind of people. And if I were to start a team, I'd love to have a player like John Beliveau. I'd be a better coach.
Yeah, I think that would make everybody a better coach. Hey, John, I'm curious, if you had the chance to do this all over again, knowing everything that you know now, would you do it?
Absolutely. I would try to get another line of work to pay for it all. So it pays $5,000 a year. But I loved it. These players, I go to their weddings and they come to my barbecue every summer. We're still in touch. Their kids are older than my 6-year-old son, Rick, so they give me parenting advice and I have to take it. So those guys there. They're now about 38, 39, and they're all leaders themselves. So it's been a lot of fun. Dan Shaughnessy of the Boston Globe described the book as Mighty Ducks meets Ted Lasso, and I'll take that all day long. Now Hollywood is sniffing around too, so we'll see what happens there. But these guys are some of my best friends, and not to get too corny here, but when I pass away, those are the guys that will carry my casket. That's how close we are.
Wow. Amazing stuff. Terrific book. John Bacon, Let Them Lead, Unexpected Lessons in Leadership from America's Worst High School Hockey Team. It's a terrific read. Red, I know you were a huge help. Listen, it wasn't easy to get our schedules all together, but I'm so glad that we did. Continued success, John, with the book, with hopefully turning it into a movie. And Red, always great to see you as well.
Well, Rick, thanks for having us. This isn't just for hockey fans either, this book or this message. It's for parents, and it's for counselors and mentors and young people that aren't sure whether they're capable of doing something that they've been asked to do. That's what it's all about, and I'd recommend it to anyone. And I know John; he would guarantee this. If you don't get something out of this book, he'll send you your money back, because we all believe in it. It's the real deal.